Hello again. So now we're moving on to functions. So we're going to be looking at sum function, the average, and a couple of other functions. Now so far what we've done up to date is everything that may be in level 1 exam. Level 2s may encounter this as well, but it'll definitely be in your level 1 exam. Some of the other functions which are in level 2 we will go on to later. But for now, let's start with summing up. So, how to use the functions and where to find them. Now there are many places to look on this area to find your functions, and everyone has their own way of doing it. So find one that suits you and stick with it. That's all I can say. So we could look here into functions. So if I just press in there, we can go into the function, insert function key on the taskbar. And it gives me a little box with a lot of drop downs for various functions in there. If I cannot see the function I want, I can just type it in here and press go and it will appear. We can also look for functions from the home tab. We can go to the drop down on auto sum and you get a similar list to the one you had before. If you don't see it, we can press on the more functions. We're back to this box we just saw again, and we can go look for it. I mean, you could go into formulas and look through all the different function formula tabs, or we've got another drop down here with an insert function. So many different ways. Don't want to confuse the issue. So either use this one or use the drop down here. I prefer this one over here. So let's have a go. Sum function is going to add up a range of data, a range of cells, and it's going to put the total into the cell where we put the formula. So we can see here, again, reiterating that all formulas and functions start with an equals. What I've actually done here is click into the auto sum. I will show you in a minute down here, and it's adding up the range between B2 and B4. If I double click in here, it will show me the range that it's adding up from B2 to B4, and if I'm happy with that, I press enter, and I get 50. Just a side point, I can see there's a little green icon there. So if I click into that cell, all that's doing is just telling me that the cell's unprotected, or that data either side of it doesn't have a formula, and it's just checking, are you okay with this? So if you do get any of these green icons, you can click on the cell, hover on the yellow bit, and just say ignore, and it'll go away. So let's have a go at this then. Let's add up these here, this range of data here. So I'm going to go over to my auto sum. I can use the drop down, or because I'm using auto sum, I know I want to add up, I can just click on auto sum and it immediately grabs data. Now the computer, when you use auto sum, will immediately look up and it will grab any data it can find, or if it doesn't see anything above it, it will go left and it will grab any data it can find. Just make sure it's grabbed all the cells that you want. So please check in the taskbar to see that I want from B11 to B15, which is correct. Once I'm happy, I press enter. Again, as we did in previous videos, we can drag this relative formula across, hovering on the bottom right, we can drag it across and we can copy that formula across. So I can see it's now doing C11 to C15, which is exactly what I want. Now, I have had students before who have just thought, you know what, I could drag that all the way across. Yeah, it started to do it, but you can see it does copy the formulas, but then it goes array here with these two. So I wouldn't be dragging this all the way across because it doesn't look professional or anything. So please do them individually and sum these up. So if you're coming over here, I'm going to press the sum key and it's going to sum them up. There we go. So we just need to align the cells as well when we're happy. Right, just take that one back a bit. I'm going to let you play with the rest of these, but they were vertical sums, so it's the same for a horizontal one. I would click in this box. Remember I was saying before that it will look for numbers above. If it can't find it, it will go left. So if I do auto sum, you can see it couldn't see anything above, so it automatically grabbed the data to the left. Let's make sure it's doing what I asked it to do, B20 to F20, B20 to, obviously this one's hidden, but F20, yes. I'm going to press OK. Then I can drag this data down. Simple as that. Right, I do remember saying earlier on that formulas v functions, formulas usually just work with two cells, do something with one cell and another cell. Well, there are occasions, changes to the rules, shall we say, that you may need to use a formula when you would think it'd be a function. So if I wanted to, in this example here, just add up how many pizzas were sold, I can see I'm doing more than 3 cells I'm adding up. So you would think it'd be a function, but no, because it would add everything up, wouldn't it? So I have to specifically just tell it these 3. So if I click into where I've done it here, if you look at my taskbar, in this case, if I have data that's in between the data I require, then I may have to use either this formula. So if I double click it, I'll show you what I've done. I've added that one to that one to that one and press enter. That's one way of doing it. Normally pops up in a level 2 exam. But another way of doing it is I could use a function. So I could use a sum function as I have here. If I just double click, but it's done the same thing. So all it's done is I've opened up a sum function and I've asked it to select this one, and that one. I'll just show you how to do that one because it's a little bit tricky. So in here, I'm going to use a sum function. So we can see it's grabbed everything and I don't want everything. So I'm just going to move the cursor inside the bracket. I'm going to delete back to the first bracket. I'm going to hold the control key down on my keyboard, bottom left hand side, hold it down and just click in to the cells I require. Once I'm happy, I let go of the control key. See in the taskbar at the top, it's selected them, but this time instead of putting a multiplication, an addition sign in there, it's put a comma. So I'm now going to press OK. That's 11. So 4 plus 3 plus 4 is 11. I had to think about it then for myself, but it's plus 11. So this is sums. This is the function sum. All done. I'm going to let you have a play with these. Check once you've done it. Change this data here and see what happens to your totals. So have a little play around with this. So let's move on to averages. In average, basically what this is going to do, it's going to add all the data up and divide by how many numbers there are. So how many bits of data there are, as we would do in maths. So it's going to add these 3 up. As we can see here, the average is adding from B2 to B4. And then it's going to divide by 3 and give us an answer. Now again, wherever you want to find your function from, either from here, from the insert function next to the taskbar, or from the drop down, it doesn't matter. You choose and stick with it. You can't go wrong because if in doubt, go home and then you know these 2 places to go to. So let's just try one for you. I'm going to go to the drop down. I can see averages there. I can see it's selected the data. Remember, it looks up and looks left. So I'm happy with what it's selected. I'm just going to press enter. 4.4. Just be aware if the question asks you, does it want 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, or none? So just make sure this one is formatted to 1 decimal place. I can see it's general and it's 1 decimal place. If I need to change that, I would come up to here and change it as we did before with currency back in the formatting tab. So again, I could drag this across and then I go on to the next one and the next one like so. A little bit fast, I know, but if in doubt, go back over these videos or you can email me. My email's in the first tab here and we can go through it again. So moving on to other functions. Now these are the other functions that may pop up in level 1. We have count, min and max. So basically they do what they say on the tin. The count will count all the cells above or to the left or right. They will count how many cells have data in. So you can imagine if this was 100 rows long, I wouldn't scroll through and look at all my cells to see which is missing. I could put a count function in, and if it came back and said you've got 99 cells with data in, I know one's missing and I can go and find it. So the count function again, I can either select it from here or from the drop down here. I can see count numbers. So it's going to count all this range and tell me how many cells there are. 6. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's counted 6 cells. So everything's hunky-dory there. Now let's just play with this a bit. If I amend the 1 to a 0, let's see what happens to the count function. It's still 6. It recognises 0 as a number in a cell. So there's still 6 cells there with numbers in. However, if I delete 0, it's now changed to 5 because there are only 5 cells in this range that have numbers. So basically that's what the count does. Okay, we come down to minimum. So again, I'm going to find my minimum function, which is here, and it's going to find the smallest number in the range. So again, you can see what I was saying before. It will grab data wherever it can. It's like a child, it will just grab it. You possibly have to overwrite it. So if I just go back one from here, because I want to move that data that was there. What was the one before? Cool. So if I now come to the minimum, I'm going to Drew's drop down. I can see it's grabbed everything, but it's also grabbed the count data. Now I don't want to include that because I'm looking for the minimum data in this range here of products, not this one. So I'll have to override it. So I'm going to click in the first one, click and hold, and drag down and overwrite it. I can see I only want to do from B3 to B8 now. So if I press, we can see that number 1 is the correct one. The issue with this, you've got to be careful with this one, because the issue with this, if I just take that back and I do the count, the minimum again, I can see it's grabbed too much, and if I just miss it, it will tell me number 1 with the smallest one in there. However, when the assessor looks at this, they will see that you've grabbed too much and you've gone to B9 as well. So please be aware of this. Same again with max. It just finds the largest number in this range, and you can see what's going to happen. It's going to grab these two as well, isn't it? So I go to max, I can see it's grabbed them all, but I'm going to overwrite it. So I'm going to click in there, drag down and say I only want to look at them cells, and it tells me 12 is the biggest range in there. Please just be careful what it's trying to grab. Confirm it in the taskbar at the top, and when you're happy, move on. And like I was saying, you've now done all them 3 for the here. You could drag them all 3 across, and it should be everything hunky-dory. C3 to C8, C3 to C8, yep, everything looks good. That's the count, the min and the max. Now, like I say, a little bit fast going through these, but I don't want these videos to be too long. So have another play with these. Also keep an eye out for any irregularities. So if any of your cells are set up incorrectly, there should be currency, or there should be percentage or date or anything like that. Check at the top here to see what the cell's set for. Now this is just numerical data, so that's fine. If I go back to summing up, they're the same. We don't have any that are currency at the moment. Here we go. If I click into this cell, we can see it's set up to currency. So if you have any irregularities with any of your cells, just make sure what it's formatted to. And in here, again, proofreading, I can see Amsterdam's is squashed. So before I enter this or print screen it and save it to my folder, I'm going to open up all the columns and just make sure everything's hunky-dory. Right, so we're going to be moving on next to charts. So any questions, please email me.